Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. For those that transferred over from the watch along, thank you. And for all people that are watching it on other devices and are following back, quite a frustrating result. I have Basil with me as well. This is our first time on a show together here for the watch along, the post match and reaction show to Everton nil, Manchester United only 2. So, what were your thoughts, Basil?
But it wasn't a good watch for me. I mean, I don't know if anyone could possibly enjoy watching Everton at the moment. It's just really hard to deal with, and especially once you're going 2-0 down after 35 minutes. I think at that point it's just becoming a real slog to get through, and I don't envy the people who are in the stadium at that point, because Everton are just once again so toothless in their attack that they leave less than to be desired. But this was just another one of those Everton performances where Everton have control in a game, create some chances, fail to score, make mistakes, and lose the game. And I think you could use those same sentences to describe maybe 80% of our fixtures this season.
Yeah, and I mean, probably you felt this way too. And to your point, Basil, Ryan was at the match, and I thought it was tough to try and show positivity on the watch along. I think it'd be a very different environment for the Everton fans there. They were showing the coverage on TV of like a little kid being like, "Oh, here's the beam. I'm gonna find a pen and see if I can slide it in, hide it into the," like, people just completely bored out of their brains, just out of commitment to Everton. You have to stay, but you're looking for creative ways to do it. And when a kid gets bored going to a football match, that's tragic. We were playing forward thinking, but we were so bad at it that every time you went forward, and me as a commentator on the last match or during the watch along, I didn't think we were going to score. So I was just ranting and not talking about the chances because it didn't feel like there was an opportunity for us to do anything.
Yeah, that's the issue. I don't feel like I have the confidence that we actually will score, and I don't think Everton fans will. I don't think United fans will, and I don't think Everton players do. And that is a fundamental issue right now. I was coming out of Brighton, it was 2 weeks ago now, and I heard some Brighton fans saying, "Oh, that Calvert-Lewin's never going to score," because everyone in the league knows we just can't hit a barn door when it comes to converting chances.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's lots of analogs to being in a dating slump or anything like that, but honestly, it's amazing just like how many chances, and they're not always good chances, but there was a few today. Which ones did, like, let's say in the first half, were there any shots that stood out to you as close, good, we should have scored?
It just broke up a little bit, but I think there was one at the end of the first half. I think it was McNeil maybe should have done better with an opportunity right at the end, but it got blocked. I think Dukes had one in the start of the second half, which was sort of half volley at the edge of the box. I think that was also blocked. I think some of those ones we were unfortunate, but we lack a lot of conviction when it comes to shooting. It's very much like we will get another chance, I'll just hit it, and they're a bit half-hearted attempts.
So before I go to Ryan's message here, I'll start with this one because I think it's kind of fitting. So, hi Basil and Chris and everyone else watching. I gave up at halftime, took my daughter to McDonald's. I give up. I generally feel that. I'm sure Ryan truly felt that too, being at the game, and anyone else that's calling in or watching back to hear it. But I think almost I don't know if you felt it, but the second they scored that first penalty, I think most Evertonians felt it was over already. But we played better after that first goal, or we put it to them, and then we just started to lack any punch. And it probably ties into the real question here. And Duggan has a similar tone and feeling on it. But the question of Dyche in or out, I'm stuck because some weeks, like against Palace, definitely his fault. And some of the tactics on set pieces are definitely decisions that are in Dyche's control. But on a day like today, we went forward. People weren't willing to cross the ball at the right times, but we didn't look good in those transitions. We looked sloppy, but is that a Dyche thing or is that a player thing? And when we do have chances like what Jimmy said here, Dobbin missing a sitter, how do you blame a manager for someone not being able to hit the broadside of a barn door? You kind of can because it's confidence of the players and that new manager bounce, maybe. But I'm curious if you feel, is it a matter of would someone else other than Dyche make the improvements right now? Is it Dyche's fault, or do we just need to get rid of him to make inroads to get a point again?
There's a lot of questions that could be answered
Oh,
there. I mean,
okay,
we've come to an interesting.
Whatever you're thinking. Yeah.
I'm thinking. I mean, if you're judging it on this game, which you can't do, we'll go through. We'll break down the game a little bit more in a minute, I think. But just on a whole, yeah, you've got to look at the last sort of 10, 15 games. Everton are on a negative trend. You've got 5 before this game. I think it was 10 games without a win, 5 defeats and 5 draws. Not great there, is it? How much of that is down to the cloud over the club with the ownership and the points deduction? And does that have any impact on how many points we picked up in that period? How much is down to Dyche and how much is down to the players? It's a difficult one, but one thing I do believe in is that the players are lacking like a mental belief to score goals. And I think one thing he did when he came in, or just actually before he came in, when we were under Lampard and we went to Burnley, he was very firm and said, this Everton team don't know how to win games. I don't know if you remember that. And it riled a lot of people up. And then he came in and he said, I've got to teach this Everton side to win these games. And he did put in a mentality where we could pick up some wins, especially away from home. But now it's got to the point almost where I'm looking at it thinking, if he was somewhere else, he'd be saying the same thing. This Everton side don't know how to win games and score goals. Now, what does that mean? We need a fresh impetus at this moment. And ahead of 2 weeks of absence, this is probably the only time you would consider be appropriate to swap managers. But I don't think this is going to be the case with everything that's going on at the moment. That's another thing we probably don't need in terms of
we don't need another IOU to 777, even if we need to shake things up.
Yeah, we don't have the money for it anyway.
So Mark put up a point that I think was kind of resonating with how I was feeling, that, well, maybe it provides confidence to the players. But Basil, you brought up a really good point. And I was listening this morning before, I got up early so I could get ready for the watch along. And I was listening, prior to Dave and Wes, I was listening to the pre-match coverage from Dyche. They brought up a question. Back when you were with Burnley, you talked about knowing that Everton didn't know how to win. And he goes, I don't really believe that. And he kind of double backed and ran away from that question. So
was this today?
Yesterday, or from pre-match for United, that question came up, and
I didn't see that. Okay,
away from it. So it was really fitting you said that, because it actually came up in conversation, and he just completely kind of, no, I didn't really mean it.
Interesting. Okay, he's just trying to pay for it over now, isn't he?
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, you look at today's game. And we can break it down, can't we? We can look at it, because I think we're a bit calmer than I think we're relatively calm, because we knew the game was done after 30 minutes. I think if they'd scored the 2 goals near the end, we'd probably be ranting right now and really annoyed. But I think we've had a lot of time to soak it in and see how the game developed. But for 30 minutes, we actually looked decent. I thought decent without, sort of flattering to deceive. That's the problem. We actually tactically were quite good. We saw that United are also struggling for their own reasons. No Rasmus Hojlund, so no target man. They got Bruno Fernandes up front. So we knew if we put this higher press, you would try and pen them in. If they went long, they probably would lose the ball unless it was over the top into space. So I think that was quite effective. We win the ball high up the pitch, and that's where Everton created most of the open play chances in the first half of the season, and it was quite effective. But we just can't hit a barn door when it comes to making the right decision in front of goal and the actual strike. And then the penalties is what comes next.
We could have been down 4-0 at halftime, in my opinion. That some people, and I think the Blues, who may not be on this one, was saying he thought the referee Simon Hooper was exactly right. There was 4 penalty shouts, 2 went our way, 2 went their way. What were your thoughts on those?
I don't penalty shouts as in for us to get a penalty.
No, okay. Everton, in my view, could have given away 4 penalties, and I would have not said that was unreasonable, especially the way doesn't seem like the Premier League likes United. Likes Everton. Yeah. It was at United where they get a lot of the calls. VAR seems to be on their side. I think we were really, really lucky it wasn't 4-0 at halftime, personally, because there was 2 from Mikalenko that were handballs that were not called.
Yeah, the handballs. Yeah, but slightly suspect decisions, but also he is falling to the ground. I can see why they can't give that anyway.
Yeah. But they gave Onana the one he covered his hands and like.
I couldn't believe.
Sometimes they call that. Yeah,
I know. Where he's covering his face, but when he's actually falling to the ground, they say if your arms used to cushion your fall, then how can you? Yeah. But you can use that to your advantage, can't you? You can be clever because you're falling down and just kind of shrivel your arm away. But I think 2 was bad enough. I thought Garnacho might get a third one just to put his name in the record books. He's already had that
without actually passing it to a
goal. He had that fantastic goal at Goodison, didn't he? It seems like every time he just is like a thorn in our side. But it used to be
Martial, didn't it? Now he's injured, so they need someone else.
Yeah, the first pen, as soon as he made the tackle, it's like penalty. I could see it. Yeah. It looked like a penalty, and there's no really any defense. So the only thing you say is why do you do it? Why do you lunge in? Can't help yourself. Because Garnacho, he's quick and he's tricky, but his finishing can lack. Consistency.
A bit like a McNeil, where he can occasionally will pull off a worldie and then doesn't for a while.
Yeah,
that's kind of him.
You're thinking just try and jockey him out. It's easier said than done because he runs at that much pace. You think you can get the ball, and then before you know it, you've gone.
Yeah.
But Everton players have a habit of backing off, and then when they get in the box, they decide it's then the right moment to put tackle in.
So on the first one, and I'll see if I can get this right on the camera. Wait, that's left on the camera? Yeah. So he's running at the players. He goes that way to the edge of the box, and Parky wipes him out as he's going towards the left corner flag. Why? Yeah. Not needed, but Tarkovsky, and as people have put it in the comments here, we're actually really poor. Tarkovsky was really poor today for me. Ryan's in there too. Hey, Ryan.
Hello, hi.
He's just come out. You're in the car.
Hello.
Hello, Ryan. Hello. Is this Ryan's dad or is this Ryan today?
No, this is me. I feel very flat now, to be honest with you. I feel a bit sunken.
Yeah.
I do want to say, Everton have got tactical deficiencies and they're poor in both boxes. What I don't quite understand today, when you're a player on the pitch and you can see Mikalenko getting acres of time and space on the overlap, not being picked up by Garnacho and Dalot, and on the other side as well, why we weren't making the better use of that. And then when it does go over to the full-back, I don't know what you can really say. The quality of the delivery is so poor from both sides. They're either going over hit or under hit. They're either through people, crowded bodies. There's no intelligence to that process. And I don't know how much of that is Dyche coaching them. I think a lot of that has got to be, for me, to just rubbish footballers, a lot of them in certain aspects of the game. So that's a tactical deficiency that we didn't really pick up on when we could have really exposed in that first half all the space. Now, we had mounds and mounds of chances in that game. There's no excuse. If you watch it back, if you watch the full 90 minutes back, you will be more than enlightened. There was chance after chance after chance after chance. there was only one team that ever looked like scoring, and I know we never looked like scoring at the same time. It's a crazy oxymoron, but it was only all Everton. United's chances only would come from Everton's erratic mistakes, such as our own set pieces. The penalties are just pathetic because you're showing a lack of situational awareness in the box to... We're so good at backing off and then blocking the shot, but for some reason we're trying to nick the ball and like recklessly. Ben Godfrey, reckless. Tarkowski had a really poor game in that centre of that defence. He looked uncomfortable. And so you've got the real problems there. We can't finish. We can't defend the box. We're not picking up tactically situations to try and exploit Manchester United. So, and the fans are then completely apathetic because we don't have the belief now. The players are then not having the belief. And I do believe now that possibly the only way to solve this, and it's not popular, but if you go 10 games without winning, you can't score a goal, and you're in danger of relegation. I think the only thing that's going to give this team a boost would be to change manager now. I think that will only happen if there was someone really well presentable out there. But at the same time, this is a bunch of players that I'm not quite sure if you put a footballing style manager in, that they will be able to make a spade into the bucket. I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can turn feces into gold. I just think we would probably end up in another similar situation where we can't do the goal scoring because we don't have the creativity, we don't have the finishing quality, we don't have the technical skill. So I don't know how much a manager change would work. I just think when Dyche's teams were all about being aggressive with the high press, and we did that in the first half, and so I give them credit for that, but I still feel nauseating thinking about that game and that result, how United managed to still win despite Everton being both crap and good at the same time.
Yeah. So I just quickly looked up. You're talking about new manager. Would you say the feeling for yourself, Ryan, and maybe the collective of those in Merseyside, are we in a position as bad as the first time I watched follow Everton? And I was just looking to rant. It was Jeff and Dan on the channel. We had lost 2 matches away at Bournemouth, and Iwobi was like, "Here's your shirt," and someone goes, "F off, you have your shirt back." And Coleman's trying to calm it down. And then we had the international break, or this is like the World Cup. We kept Lampard. Then we didn't do anything. And then we had to sneak Dyche in. We had that break in games, and we didn't take advantage. Do you feel that the momentum and the energy is similar? Because we have 21 days till the next match. 3 weeks. I know Dyche has got some... If you want a time, this is the time. It kind of has a parallel, but Dyche is going to have a gaffer weekend. Maybe he takes all of them out for a piss up to like let them relax a bit and try and like shape their mindset and just get all the crap out of their like that is weighing them down and reset them. I don't know, but you either do that or make a call right now. But who do you put in? Can we afford it? Who would you choose?
You'd have to. I mean, Everton are dodgy as hell, aren't they? You'd have to find a manager and give him a brown envelope on the side and say, we can't put you through the books, but we can bribe you.
This is what they did at Man City, Ryan.
Well, you just have to do what you've got to do. It's corrupt anyway, so you have to fight fire with fire. I don't know whether there's a manager out there. I haven't really looked into it. It's only the last sort of 3 or 4 games where we've crumbled at Brighton, crumbled against West Ham, and kind of crumbled today that I've really thought, you know what, I've had enough now. I've seen enough. I'm not seeing signs that anything's going to change, and I'll get a lot of hate for this. I'm not saying categorically Dyche out. I'm saying we would be naive to not look and explore and see if there was anyone out there who could maybe get a tune out of these. Yeah. Because at the moment, I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, you could just single it out and say we just can't finish. We create the chances and we're quite good. But would that really change if you've got a different man and manager? So what you could do is maybe look at bringing a striker coach in. But listen, even still, they're going to do the same things. Mikalenko is never going to bomb on and get right down the bottom and get a good ball in the box. Yesterday, he had a good first half, got in good positions. But that's not his game. Godfrey's never going to have that technical quality. Tarkowski's not suddenly going to have pace. Onana's not going to suddenly learn how to shoot. James Garner's not suddenly going to learn how to do something other than run very energetically and try and win the ball back. Harrison's not suddenly going to be learn how to use his left or right foot or even stand on one leg. I don't know what he does. He's dreadful. Jack Harrison he's absolutely turgid. So these players are going to be who they are no matter who comes in. Decore is playing with an injury and he looks awful. I didn't want to come up with some good analogies. It was like in the second half we were allergic to pass to Mikalenko on that overlap. It was like the bloody goalkeeper Pickford was Russian and he didn't want to pass to him because he's from Ukraine. I couldn't believe it. I thought, why can't you just play the pass? For God's sake, he's unmarked acres of space. They're not suddenly going to change.
I think it's difficult because
McNeil was brilliant, by the way. I just want to say Dwight McNeil, before David comes in on that, Dwight McNeil today really wants to make things happen, and I felt sorry for him.
Yeah, he gave it a go. He really did, but
he did. But he could do better with some of the finishes. I just think the Mikalenko one, he was found quite a few times in that first half. I think that's fair. And yeah, perhaps in the second half, he wasn't, and it's harder to pick up on the TV than it is at the game because you get different. You can't always see the full pitch when you're watching on the TV. But I don't think the ball always went over to that side because McNeil drifts inside and then he's isolated. And then what's he going to do with the ball? And I think Onana was sometimes a bit sloppy, so that it tended to go down the right-hand side, but it just doesn't work for me because Harrison's getting inside, McNeil's inside, so it just leaves Godfrey's the only one who's going to have the chance to put a cross in. And every cross from Godfrey, he's a centre back, and it's just lumped or smashed, or it's just so bad. I mean, even a really good cross from those positions is going to be tricky to score against because every Man United player is back in their box. Everyone's static in the box. We've slowed it down that much that it's going to be so difficult to actually score from. And then, second half, I think Dyche realised he needed some more quality from the full-back positions. Brings on Ashley Young for crosses, but he puts him at right mid instead of at full back. So he's left Godfrey as the main deliverer because Ashley Young can't sit on the wing. That just leaves Calvert-Lewin and Gomez isolated, and we're losing 2-0. I just couldn't understand that. The crosses are coming from the full back positions, so you have to change the full backs. Don't change the wingers.
Well, I will say, Basil. Do you think Ashley Young did? Ashley Young did release a feeler.
Coleman should have come on. Ashley Young made a positive difference. Coleman should have come on. And because it was Godfrey, but he's just scared to do it because of the pace. Godfrey did have the legs to get back into the position, but he doesn't have the end product. It's risk and reward. He doesn't want to take the risk, and he obviously he's never going to get the reward.
Well, he's tried. He's tried better. He's had Calvert-Lewin for 20 matches. He's tried to mix it up a bit. I think he's even got to the point today where, it's not like Dyche, but he's taken off basically the whole front line and given them 30 minutes or 20 minutes and said, you try something. And then they've not really been able to deliver either.
Aren't we?
Yeah. So
that's the problem. That was the thing that was winding me up. We were getting into really good positions in that first 45 minutes where Dwight McNeil would possibly be on the edge of the D, ready to ping it with his left foot, and he overplays it. Or we get in a good position on a counter-attack, and we've got the legs, and we're just too slow, and then we're going back, and eventually they've got players back. We're playing against Johnny Evans. He's old enough to be my granddad.
Yeah, he looked injured too, and Beto made him uncomfortable when we gave him the ball there.
Yeah, when the ball got fed in behind, he had something to latch on to.
Yeah, like didn't 4 times. Enough.
We didn't have anyone running on beyond him to take the ball off him and then another third man coming in. I mean, I spoke to a Manchester United fan coming at the ground, and he said that Dyche is bad and the players are bad, and he thought United were also poor.
They were. United did not offer very much, and I think if we hadn't been so sloppy and giving away the penalties, I think
he was the one on the live stream, wasn't he, Ryan? Is he the one that was on the live stream with us, Ryan? Yeah. Also, real quick, we have 180 people watching, so again, really appreciate the live following here. But for all you that haven't, please like and subscribe.
But if they're watching on Twitter, how do they do that?
They would go to YouTube or Facebook and find us there at Everton Fan TV or follow Everton. You can search it either way and find us there. The other point I wanted to add, you were talking about Mykolenko. That was something that really frustrated me. Mykolenko was in the right spot, but he was so disappointing. And partly it was crosses, but he didn't cross it that often. He seemed afraid to cross it and was like, McNeil, that's your job. I don't want to give the ball away and be in trouble. So I'm giving it to you, McNeil. And then McNeil would be like, crap, you gave it on my right foot. What am I going to do with that? Give it back to you. And we just lose possession. And cool, we had 49% possession at some point. And Mykolenko has a cool heat map in the corner, but he did nothing with it. Release the ball first time, and something will happen. Now, Ryan will probably come in here in a minute and say, well, he can't cross it. But if he crossed it 10 times, one of those 10 will get him out of position, as we talked about with Ghana last week, because he crossed it early. They were still running back out of position, and we could go to the back post, and a chance happened.
It's a combination.
Because he didn't release it early, there was never a chance.
There's a combination for me. I mean, you look at one later on when Andre Gomez came on, who settled us down a little bit, and it was a good substitution, actually.
Yeah.
Because he's a good footballer, although he just needs the legs around him, and I think Dyche had to weigh up the balance there. There was situations where the ball did go out wide. It was always bloody Ben Godfrey for some reason. And just hold the cross, just hold your run. Have maybe someone go near post, someone go back post, but then someone loitering on the edge, and just be a little bit less predictable, because the way we do it at the moment, everything is so predictable in terms of the crossing style.
Yeah. I think that Mykolenko, there might be something to be said instead of just sitting there. I know he does get forward, he's got an engine, but he puts himself on the sort of touchline area, and the ball's going to come into him and he's going to be afraid to cross it. Why doesn't he instead talk to McNeil and they play that role differently? Let McNeil be the one who tucks really wide, and let Mykolenko, pass it into McNeil. Mykolenko runs as an inverted fullback, gets in the box, and then opens up space in front for McNeil to drive into and put a cross in. They're both of them are static and both of them out wide. It just congests it, and then you end up having to go back to Onana and Garner and back to Branthwaite. It's just really
the whole the U-turn around to avoid the middle.
Jared Branthwaite's too good for this team. He was the best of a back line. He's best of the back line, and for me it was McNeil and Jared Branthwaite and Beto at times who were the only good players, really. But at the same time, I don't know, because I looked at that first half and I thought, how are we 2-0 down? We've been the better team, but I don't know whether that was just because United were woeful or because we were quite good, because I'm still being very critical of Everton today.
Yeah.
How many crosses did Harrison put in today?
That's a...
Why don't I look that up on...
Yeah, let me do that. Let me pull it up without my phone.
I have a feeling it's very low on the Harrison scale. I don't know what he was
on the Harrison scale. It's a separate level, just like Everton with the Harrison scale. We set the expectations to a 6 out of 10 and say, "Oh, that was better than last week." And I feel like I do that on content now when I'm like, "Oh, at least he tracked back this week," and I'm like, "What? My expectations are so low."
No, Harrison left Godfrey isolated 1v1, which forced Tarkowski to come across and end up making that foul. He wasn't protecting anyone. Harrison is useless. He's got a nice haircut.
He did have one. There was one really early where he tracked back, and that's about the one I remember, and that's it. I pulled up the SofaScore stats for him. So Jack Harrison stats today, everyone. 61 minutes played, 0.02 expected goals, 0.07 expected assists, 27 touches. Of his 19 passes, 15 were deemed accurate, or 79%. He had one cross, unsuccessful, two long balls, one successful, one shot off target. In his dribble attempts, two were unsuccessful, one was. And he did deal with a lot of 2v1s on that side. I'll give him that. ground duels 1. Of the 5, he won 2. He lost possession 7 times, gave away 1 foul, was fouled once, and blocked 1 shot. So that's your sofa score, Jack Harrison, mediocrity, 5 out of 10. But because we have no one else, I'm going to give him a 7 because I'm not sure how to handle my emotions anymore. Great.
Yeah, it's poor, isn't it? He did put that really good block in, which could have stopped the goal in the first half. But apart from that, I think he was pretty anomalous. But I think this thing, it goes back to what I was saying about the inverted foot, thing. He's taken away players by putting himself on the inside. He's allowed Godfrey to get that space out wide. And also United know that Godfrey's not going to deliver a good ball, so they can back off and not get out. The same with Mikalenko. But I'd just be interested to see as an experiment if the 2 fullbacks came into midfield and sort of inverted themselves and let wingers be wingers. Could that offer something different? But I think that relies on Onana also getting in the box with Doucouré and helping Calvert-Lewin on those crosses.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can... I was doing some mud maps with Chad this week on what we could do with a back 5. I just need to go find if I sent this to my mate or not. I can download it real quick. But I had... where are we? I think I shared it here. Just give me 1 moment. I'm trying to find this, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, let me... So what I can find, I definitely sent it to Chad. My thinking for that to pull this off, I think is we have to go to a back 5 again. Do you think a back 5 would work or not really?
Sometimes it depends on who you're playing against and the sort of formation they play against. And I think at times, like second half, I think Everton started this game and to sort of answer, because there was questions about missing the game, Everton started it up here and they actually got probably slightly better, and then they conceded the penalty.
So are you still there? I'm not sure if it's you cut out or me. Is it me that's cut out or Basil? Let me...
I think I've just broken up there.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I wasn't sure if it was you or me. But compete that again. You were talking about a back 5, and at certain times, it depending against the right team.
It was just saying that Everton, throughout the process of that game, started quite well, conceded the penalties, and I think the players got frustrated with themselves and the manager, and I think they ran out of ideas, continuously got worse and worse and worse throughout that game, and it got to a point where we started with the team we had, we changed the 3 up front, then 10 minutes later, well, that's not working either, and I think we went to a back 3 at the end. Or some version of a back 3, and I think there's possibilities there with Branthwaite and Godfrey as quick, the quick 2 on the outside, and then you've got Tarkowski in the middle.
Yeah,
but I think the problem is, who do you play as your wing backs? Do you have to go with more attacking players? Do you have to go with Young, Patterson as the 2? Because you need wing backs to offer you something going forward. If they don't, you end up being sucked into a defensive 5.
So what I was thinking, or the one I was talking to Chad, I finally was able to pull it up. What I would say is we'd have sort of a 3-4-2-1 formation. Looks like Stevie's joining. Is he trying to join in from the background? I can't tell.
I can't see. If he comes in, he can come in.
Steve, you there?
Hello?
He wasn't talking, was he?
No, he's
just he's doing his catwalk march. He can add himself back in. So my thought was a 3-4-2-1. You'd have Branthwaite on the left side, as he's done all year to sort of support Mikalenko. You would have Tarkowski in the middle, and you put Seamus Coleman as the right centre back, because he can move to the right back, and he's not excellent as a centre back. I think he was quite poor. The one time Mikalenko a couple of years ago, we got scored against Leicester. He was pretty clumsy interacting with like Mina and gave away a really poor one there. But maybe he's been around. He knows how to play it. So I think as a right centre back covering for a right wing back that's advanced, he could kind of do that. So at times it's a right fullback, sometimes it's a center back, depends. Then the decision comes, is it Mikalenko? And right now he doesn't cross, but he's defensively okay. So do you want to have McNeil in the middle? And if you want him in the middle, then you need McNeil as the left wing back. So I have McNeil as my left wing back, and then I have Patterson as my right, because he does advance. He isn't as good defensively, gets pulled out of position, but you'll have Coleman yelling at him to tell him how to position and keeping him in line right there. So that's my thought positionally there. Then you would talk about, you'd have two in the middle, so it'd be like Onana and probably Idrissa Gana Gueye right there, or James Garner, whatever combo of those two that we have. And what you would then have is this kind of more tucked in wingers, either Doucouré, if he isn't injured and has some pace, a Lewis Dobbin, a Dwight McNeil in that channel that we've been asking for, and then it's either Beto or DCL as the lead striker. That's just the way I think you can pull it off.
I love the way you say Doucouré, if he has some pace, as if he's suddenly going to get some.
Well, no, but like at times he has more energy, but as Wes was saying, and I'm not sure if it's valid, but we have this thought in the back of our minds that it might be. He's got his knee problem. He's had a couple dodgy hamstrings and he's looking tired. So he doesn't have that extra 10% zip that he could have had. That's what I'm saying. Is he truly pacey? No. The only one that's truly pacey is maybe Dobbin, maybe Patterson, maybe Danjuma, or Beto at the 50-meter mark of a 100-meter sprint, right? We don't have that accelerating member. Like, who was it for them today? Garnacho.
Rashford.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't dislike your team. I just thinking whether that's going to work with McNeil as the left wing back. Do you trust him to be? Because when we're defending, he becomes the left back.
So what I was saying is that he wouldn't be a left wing back. He would be kind of the left central attacking midfielder as a pair with Doucouré. So you'd have you'd kind of make a you would have the right wing back is Patterson paired with Onana and Doucouré, so they'd make a attacking triangle on that right side. The left-hand side equivalent, you have Mikalenko as the left wing back, tucked in a little bit. There's McNeil, because he likes being in the middle. We've seen that now. He likes charging through the middle. And then the central midfielder that does generally pair pretty well. They changed it up a bit today, but James Garner, Mikalenko, and McNeil is the better flank of the two in terms of holding possession. Again, I'm not saying we're excellent. It's just better than the right side. Maybe a 6 out of 10 compared to a 5 on the right. So that's why I was thinking to keep those sides together, because the left side holds possession.
It's like a 3-4-2-1 sort of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Christmas tree formation. I just think the problem with that is, or not problem. The thing is, where we are at the moment, the formation we play, we don't concede many goals. Yeah, we conceded some soft ones from set pieces and penalties recently. But we generally haven't conceded many goals. So if you start changing the formation, can you keep the solidity at the back? And what does a change in formation offer you? So in your case, what is the attacking philosophy of your Christmas tree?
So is it a true Christmas tree is a 4-3-2-1?
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. It's a Christmas tree with the bottom cut up a bit.
The branch.
So the thinking really is we occasionally need to drop back our wing backs, but we actually have our wingers or wing backs starting in a higher position for carrying the ball. And because you would have an extra member with Doucouré in the middle, it would allow for more possession and to bring like an ability to bring up the ball, because James Garner occasionally does carry. He didn't seem to have as much carry with him today. That was all seeming to be from McNeil. But that all I'm trying to think here is, and you were talking about defensively. I will counter that in the last 3-4 weeks we have not looked good defensively. But it's like we're solid until we're not. But that is how teams give up goals. When you're not for a second, things happen. We gave away a couple corners. The Zuma one from last week, when I look back, it was actually Zuma who was on the keeper. He peeled off the keeper, and that's why they had no one marking him. So that was clever from them, but still no creativity. Like, how do you defend it? We've given away corners now, 2 in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they've started scoring counterattacks on us that we weren't doing earlier in the year. The one from they scored the one at the end of the match was kind of a silly giveaway, but the other one was exposing the back post. And again, we got really lucky on back post today. I felt that Mikalenko, either by what he's told to do and playing so narrow and giving up the back post, but they had a few chances early before their penalty where, like, I was really worried they were scoring. So my concern right now is, if we keep with the back four, what do we change to make us not prone to these? I'm really glad they missed. Hey, our defense is good again because they didn't convert. I'm really getting worried about how we're doing defensively, and we're trying to shake it up front, but we aren't scoring. So we're leaking more goals. We're trying harder and not scoring.
Yeah. No, you're right. I'm just thinking maybe this is the perfect time to have the 3-week break then, to just because I think Everton's confidence is really low. I think that we're playing with baggage. We're playing with like a lot of mental baggage. I think that the freedom's not there. I think there's a lot of stress and pressure. I don't think that brings out the best in the performances. So I think there's a difficulty there, and I think maybe at the break, they're probably going to have a holiday. And maybe they need it just so they can just come completely away from this and come back as if it's a new sort of last 10 games of the season mentality. We are going to, get ourselves out of this.
Yeah, and I imagine the one benefit for these players that they're not playing for Man United or Liverpool. Let's say they decide, I'm going to go to Malta, I'm going to go to Gibraltar in the off season. Like, oh no, what's the island in Spain you guys go to a lot?
Mallorca.
Or like Mallorca. So like, imagine they go to Mallorca, just, I don't know, DCL lets his hair down, let's say, and because they're not as a high profile team, we don't have the budget to have the whole world know our brand, hence we're financially hemorrhaging. We can go somewhere and we'll be left alone as players, or the players will be left alone. So maybe that's just a week away to get out of the media stream of UK, and just a day or two of unwind before they are doing another gaffer day where they have to do their what do they call that again? Is it doggies or suicide run, where you go this side to that side? Now you have to go a little bit faster next round. We call it the beep test, but I don't know what you guys call it.
I just know bleep test, but yeah,
the bleep test, where you just like, you're swearing your ass off after you're tired instead of the beep test. The bleep. But yeah, something like that, where like a couple days of just, you don't have to listen to Jim White and Simon Jordan have an opinion. Maybe you don't have to hear.
No, I don't think that's going to go away because of everything that surrounds the club. Even if
but Dyche is so old school on what he's set up, where you can't wear beanies, snoots, or whatever the headpiece is. I forget. So if that's the expectation on all those little rules, maybe it's no phones on the company vacation, so they don't hear anything for a day. Media blackout because Dyche has set a penalty and fine system, and they just go have Long Island iced teas. Dwight McNeil and Tarky talk about life. I don't know, just something to shake this up. Or we have to get a new manager in, as Ryan was saying, which don't know if we have the funds for, but we need something badly.
Yeah. I think it could be helpful. I mean, let us know in the comments what you think. What was the action you would take, or do you take no action right now to get this Everton team?
As long as we do not encourage violence or attacks on their mental health, but anything else is a recommended idea. Do you want to look at some stats here? Because I brought up a couple. So some of the stats full time. So on the left is Man United. So when we play this game of XG, we still got pantsed today. So they got 2.5. We got 1.48.
What's the penalty though? Is a penalty like 0.75 or something?
Next time I should append on the right and say, what is an XG of each opportunity, so we can fit ballpark what this is. But
I'd imagine it will be. So like 1.5 of that surely is or at least one of that is penalty.
And it was Rashford and Garnacho were the only other ones kind of in play that looked dangerous.
We saved the free kick from Bruno, which was
and that was a Bruno's one. Yeah, that was quite good. Quite a good strike, and Pickford covered it.
There was one they nearly scored from a corner where it was a bit of a scramble and it flicked back, and they could have scored easily.
Oh yeah. That was Lindelof and Evans, and then Evans like fell onto Pickford, dropped his elbow, and just playing the old man that couldn't get up, and they had a very awkward like cuddle wrestle on the ground after that one. But anyway, so if you look at possession, that's what's funny. Both teams, clearly, I think neither team was excellent today. We gave the ball away a lot, but both teams want the counter-attacking style. And you were talking about long ball at the beginning, Basil, versus short. They were doing a lot of building it from the back through Casemiro, and he was doing terrible on the ball. Then they went, okay, let's just change it up and go long a lot. And then they would sneak in some from the back again, but they weren't as predictable. But they gave the ball away a lot. We would recover it, but then we'd give it back to them. So it was just this like, yay, great tackling, lads. Oh, we don't have the ball. What was the point in that? We could have just played more defensive. So it's like when you win the ball back, what do you do with it? Give it back to them. So that both teams were kind of playing the same way. So it ended up with a really similar possession stat. The total shots, Everton had 23 and 6 on target. And I remember when I was doing the watch along, 6 on target is not that many because all of those shots were like at Onana. He would basically be he would just turn sideways and not move and save the ball. He wouldn't actually have to do anything with it.
They had 15 and got 8 on target. It shows you even that's better stat. You know, you've had an extra 8 shots and you've got 2 less than target. It shows you the quality of our finishing is really poor. I don't know. I still think with 6 shots on target, I've always gone off the basis of like 4 or 5 shots on target should be a goal.
So another stat that maybe ties in with that is look how many goal kicks they had. That's partly missed shots or it's just failed attempts at the goal line. 17 for them, and we only had 3 goal kicks all match. So it's one of those kind of funny stats that it depends on how what's going on, but that's quite an interesting kind of statistic there with 17 goal kicks for them. That's really sad. How many times we just went, oh, that was a failed attempt trying to score. So I think that really kind of ties in there. Was there anything else that stood out to you? Or anyone from the channel on this?
Block shots 10. Obviously, Everton getting blocks in. Offsides 1. That's okay. We made no use of our corners and free kicks, really, did we? Nope. On this occasion, it was poor. We had 8 corners. Yeah. I can't remember. I think maybe second half we finally got one from the right hand side, so it allowed us to put left footed.
It was all we're all doing in what do you call it, like in swingers from James Garner on that first half, and a lot of them are overhit and curved to the back post behind Tarkowski. It's better than at the front post, but it's if you're overhitting it. Did you see that Tarkowski almost did a backflip? Trying to get to the ball.
No, they were too long. I think there was one that also didn't beat the first man. They were poor. I think the McNeil ones in the second half were a bit better. You know, they looped those Everton's favourite tactic of try and get it on Tarkowski's head at the back post and put it across goal, but still it doesn't seem to be working as well as it has been in the past. And free kicks, we had 13. You know, didn't really make the most of any of that. I mean, we should have had one on the edge of the box at one point that McNeil got fouled and the ref missed that. No, but I mean, that's pretty,
So pretty looks like there's a Man United fan made a comment in here. Without those 2 penalties, our XG would be worse than yours. But as in addition to that, Danny, I honestly think Everton had more chances, but they weren't like this. The chances that United had that they blew were better chances. Garnacho had a couple over the box that I really thought they were going to knock us down 5-0 at halftime, which would have really rubbed in the fact they weren't even better than us, but they were up 5-0. Like that was the feeling I had, and the second half was oh no, nothing's going to happen for the final 30. Let's just check the clock again.
I think this is the issue, and I think United knew this. They didn't have to get out of first or second gear today to win this game. They could back off and Everton wouldn't. They certainly wouldn't score 2 goals. They might get 1 goal, but it didn't ever. I don't think they would have ever felt a threat. And I think the good thing that they did from a United point of view is they started playing longer because they were really poor when they were playing out from the back, and they were giving us the ball high up, and that was only going to happen so many times before we would get close or get to a goal. And I think by going long, they kind of took that out of the equation. So they said, if we don't give Everton the ball high up the pitch, they won't create many clear-cut chances. We'll get men behind and we'll play on the counter. We'll use the pace of Rashford. We'll use Bruno's creativity, and eventually something will come, or we'd win a penalty, and that's what they did. And I think
I love the word eventually. Because was that what Erik ten Hag said, or who said that?
No, I'm saying it.
Oh, I was about to say, like, could you imagine Erik ten Hag is like, eventually we'll get a goal, because that's just the way it works. Because that is what Dyche must think in his brain right now, because there's no hope other than it'll eventually come in. We'll eventually get a goal like DCL scored against Luton, where you just toe poke it in after many scrambles. Eventually a scramble will go our way.
No, I just thought that it would only be a matter of time before their tricky, pacey players would get a chance and probably put one away. So Everton had to score of some means. I think United were so sort of poor compared to what they can be, their potential, that they had to rely on those penalties. But once they were 1 or 2 up from penalties, a penalty's a goal, and a goal is a goal, and they just had to basically just sit back, and they knew we probably wouldn't get near to matching it 2 goals.
I think if you said who's more capable of going to higher heights as a team, clearly United have the better squad. Their depth is really ravaged right now with injury, but they haven't been playing well, but neither have Everton. But when we're both playing poor, United look comfortable winners, and could have blown us out with more penalties and a couple other options, and it could have been worse. So our average, or our underperforming compared to their underperforming, lets them win matches against us. So we might do, why don't we do a couple? We can look real briefly at some of the full-time ratings from some of the players. And our faces may get covered for a minute, but I might quickly bring this up, and then if someone wants to add their opinion rather than sofa scores to the player ratings, we can do that too. So the starting lineup, they changed formation a bunch. You don't like the Christmas tree, Basil, but this is almost a Christmas tree the way they played it. Lindelof looked pretty weak. Mainu was kind of off, hot and cold. McTominay actually played a lot higher than that. But Mainu got subbed for this other, I forgot his name, Kampawale or something. Varane looked pretty comfortable. Evans was actually quite poor. Lindelof looked sketchy. Dallo was comfortable. Garnacho was dangerous. Bruno was pretty solid throughout the match. He only complained at the ref like 7 times, so I think that was reasonable for him. And then Rashford was fine, but it's more of a name and a brand rather than skill for him. But he does have the pace that made us uncomfortable. Branthwaite and Mikalenko really struggled with players running at them today. It reminds me a lot of when we had the match against Crystal Palace, where Branthwaite gave away a penalty, could have given away another one, and it was and Eze looked really edgy against him. So that's probably the next step for Branthwaite. How do you take on players with pace that are running at you a little bit? Tarkovsky looked off it and just heavy-legged. Godfrey was just poor all day. Ryan talked about Harrison out wide. McNeil, and I think at least SofaScore brought that in here. Credit to him. He got a 7.9, so he took on the game. Pickford probably gets a bunch for a few of his saves, in particular that you're not going to get dinged for penalties against you, and he saved that free kick. And then Decore was pretty absent, so he's got a pretty low score there. And Better was fine, but just kind of intermittent, let's say.
Yeah, and I think United had a better average overall rating, but I think most people would say we had a bit more control of the game and were the more dominant force. So it's interesting that we had the worse ratings. overall. But you know, goals and stuff change ratings, don't they? Should we have a look at any of these comments that have been?
Yeah, we can go through. I've been trying to bring up some as we've gone along.
Yeah.
And when we're all talking, I don't want to interrupt like you or Ryan, and I'll just sneak one in.
Yeah.
So we can probably go back to the formation conversation here when we're talking. I was saying, do we try a 5 at the back, or just how do we bring McNeil into the middle? But we have all these left-footed players. If McNeil's comfortable on the left or in the center now through that channel, what do you do? And I think we've been trying to figure out what to do on the right side. I know Peter in particular wants to bring in Patterson from his attacking side. And if we want him for the future, we need him in. But Dyche is afraid of taking risk right now, but we're still losing. So maybe he's worth the dice roll. But for me, that's where I want someone else to keep Patterson positionally in check for it. And Dobbin either up front, maybe it's the right wing position, and you give Chimiti and Beto a chance. I mean, but that was.
I think he brought him on at right wing and pretty quickly realized that wasn't really going to be the best place for him, and that's McNeil was having more success on the inside, and that's why Gomez got dropped into midfield and Dobbin switched to the left and McNeil in behind and Ashley Young on the right. I think balance of it made more sense actually like that. A lot of our players want to play on the left. Nobody wants to play on the right, and that's a bit of an issue we need to look at in the summer.
And what was interesting, if I remember correctly, I don't know if the Blues is on here, but during the watch along, he did say that he is right-footed, but he had no impact unless he cut in. So that, of course, we have one more inverted winger because it's the only true winger at any point is McNeil, who can go wide on the left. Everyone else wants to go either to their opposite foot or they're only comfortable cutting in on their strong foot. So again, we don't have that adaptability. So there was a comment here. Same old school, no school of science or dogs of war, just roll. So feeling like, and I think that last 30 minutes in particular, we just felt rolled over and the game was over. And I couldn't imagine going to that. I can imagine going to a match just to experience it because I'm living in rural Arizona. I know I can just hear singing and love it, even if we get smashed 5-0 just for the experience of going to a good stadium. But the result was just tragic. Those last 30 minutes were almost like, can we just end it? We know the result is over. We can't score 2. It really felt like that. Let's see. Any other comments? I'm not too sure about Charlie Whittaker. I know Tyler and Yango had been injured and he was running through the middle. Have you seen much of Charlie Whittaker or heard of him?
No, I have heard of him. I've probably seen him in an under-21s game. I think Tyler Onyango is the one who's closest, and he's got the physique to do it, you know. But I think he's on loan, isn't he?
I didn't think Onyango was.
Does he come back?
So there was another thing that I think came out this morning, but you know, I got up at 3 to get ready for everything, and I wasn't fully awake to read it. But Dyche had made some kind of comment today that the reason why he hasn't brought in players other than Dobbin and Chimiti, I think Branthwaite, is he didn't think anyone else was ready. So either that's Dyche's opinion, or we have that the creativity of our starting players that are looking aging and uncreative is the best we've got, which is quite scary. Wezo brought up the only belief Everton have in front of goal is that they believe they're not going to score. Well, you know, Robbie pre-match said, we're going to get flogged and therefore we'll win because he had reverse psychology. But the second you're in your own head with it, you kind of jinx the result. Chad was hoping for it, saying it'll be like a Brighton today, and it didn't work out. Maybe we just, what we have to tell him, Wezo, is we aim for the corner flag and then we'll shank it so badly we'll do a postage stamp in the top corner. Maybe that's what you need. So we do have some player ratings coming through from Peter. So Pickford an 8. No real surprise there. I think he did everything he needed to. There was one scary clearance that he got there just, and then it went off like Dallow's backside and then spun into the middle. That could have been a goal. But outside of that, I think he was quite good. He saved the free kick quite comfortably. He misjudged it, but he reacted. He went across and then pulled his palm back. So I thought that was good. And then through the back 4 there, he's got Godfrey looking pretty weak and what I'm surprised by, and maybe there's different views on it. Mikolenko went forward, but he didn't do much with it. Branthwaite looked. I think 6 might be a bit high for him, funny enough, but Branthwaite is usually better than some of the others, but he struggled at times today. And I'm going to do on my watch back, I'm going to see, because he seemed to get beaten in the air, which I'm not used to seeing quite a bit. I agree Tarkovsky was poor. Is he one of the worst scoring? I guess Peter's scores here, maybe he's medium or the average. Harrison a 0, Decore a 2. Harrison was certainly poor. There was a couple times he tried to take on a few players, but really it was milquetoast, predictable. And yes, he defended a couple times, but I'd almost, as sad as this sounds, I'd almost rather have Ashley Young there at this point, because at least he can go to his right and his left and cross. But Young's crossing, and again, I'm saying my standard of Everton's players, they were so bad at the beginning of the season that Ashley Young crossing better than what he did at the beginning when he was taking free kicks. I'm thinking Ashley Young's improved, but it's like, that's so sad, McNeil, I think 5 might be a bit harsh, but I do know that frustration that he was in the right spots and not converting. Beto, he didn't seem really that involved in the game to me, but 0, of course, is kind of silly and hyperbolic, but it didn't feel that he was really involved enough to me.
I think the 0 is purely because he didn't score. Peter can confirm if that's the case. He's fed up of these strikers who are there to put the ball in the net. But
I would give this then, if you're under the same impression, Dobbin missed a sitter and then made DCL look bad. He had copped an elbow to the head. He's like, my head. He looks up and Dobbin striking on goal, and then he has to quickly try and dive and catch the shank of a shot. So I think Dobbin getting a 6 because of that and how much he wasn't impacting. Unless he was shooting for the corner flag, as I just said.
It was a really good cross. If he meant it as a cross, it was a very good.
But he was
cross.
on the front. The one I'm talking about, he was
no idea that it was going to cross because he was so close to goal. It was the clear shooting chance.
But he copped an elbow in the head a second before it, so I don't think he had any chance to be prepared.
No.
But Dobbin was on the front post and hit it with so much power, and it just missed. So maybe there's a lot of these. And going back to the Harrison 0. I was bringing both him and Godfrey. I was saying they're in their own minds. They're in 6 or 7s of minds. They were just not sure. Was it the through ball? Was it the short cross? Was it the back cross or running? They just seemed to pick the wrong option way too often. Gomez, I think, was okay when he came on. He didn't in the pressing position in the number 10. He's not fast enough. So that's where you'd probably bring James Garner on. Up higher and swap if you made a triangle in the midfield. Or what I actually noticed today is they made more of a V and Onana played deeper at the end. And Young and Schmidt aren't on long enough to kind of get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Duggan agrees, at least on that one sitter. But yeah, I like that he takes the game on. But if we're talking about players not converting their opportunities, it wasn't just the main 2 target men up front that weren't doing it today.
Just seeing Kazuri's comment in there. Then if you can put that up about Sean Dyche's second up from them. That must have been what Dyche said. You have to be prepared to get hurt to score a goal. I don't see enough of that.
Well,
interesting.
He's
pushing it onto the players there, isn't he?
Well, so Kazuri's comment. If I was a reporter, which I'm not, my response would be, so what happens, Sean, on goals like the second one? You brought up all your players. Pickford had a free kick just on the Everton side of the halfway line. We gave the ball away, and then we weren't in a position tactically to go against the side that claims that they pride themselves on being the best counter-attacking side in the Premier League. Where was our positional discipline and our tactics to have rest defense while going forward to justify this? Because I agree, but how do you set up to let them take risks and not be then burnt for giving away sloppy goals at the same time? Now, the first one, harder to say, but that set piece is where I kind of have problems with this line.
I think he'll say the lad was going. No, because Godfrey makes that tackle, but he's got Harrison on his left, I think, just behind, on his right, just behind his shoulder. So I think we let him cut inside and not try to put that tackle in. We did have bodies, another body or two back there.
So Garnacho went in. Onana pushed him that way. Garner pushed him further that way, and he was going to the edge of the box, and then Godfrey just takes him out, and I was like, no. We pushed him wide. That's the correct tactic, is to push that guy wide, waste his energy, and then he has to stop, change direction, and either he has to like do an amazing spin and give him credit for it, or he's going to give the ball away, and instead you clumsily put a foot in.
Exactly. I'm going to have to go in a minute to get to an appointment, but So I don't know if you want to wrap up.
So the other option, which I could be open to doing, is anyone open to doing a phone in? I could probably ping the link that I sent you in the chat, or if you could post that up, well, I could do that for a little bit if people are still on. We have over 200 people watching, so I'm very happy to talk along with people. But I know I've been talking Everton content now for the better part of 3.5 hours without much of a break. I can continue on it, but it feels like maybe I'm going to simmer on my tactical analysis, or I'm just going to be going over and over and over the same things again. And I will be going over a lot of that tomorrow.
I mean, I would have stayed on if I didn't have to get to this thing to fix my computer. Otherwise, I won't be able to charge up my computer again. But
I think I can send it in the chat here.
Yeah, you could drop it in the comments. But Ryan will be on his way home as well. I'm sure he'll be keen to get back into feed.
Yeah, so let me
calm down.
Give me 1 second while I copy this to the chat.
I think Ryan's saying that most people aren't on YouTube. They're in Facebook, Twitter. So
okay, so it may not work. I mean,
it may
but
not work.
I know Peter's happy to. Maybe we could have Peter on for what the better part of
Peter in.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I can get the link correctly. I guess you can just copy the URL at the top. That should work.
Yeah, I can drop it into the.
Yeah, what if you can drop in the chat? I just don't want to make sure I'm doing the right link. I haven't done that before. But yeah, I know you said you've got to go, so.
Yeah, luckily I only live around the corner from the appointment, but it's at 4 o'clock. It's at 4 o'clock, so which is in 7 minutes enough.
Yeah. So, well, we're figuring this out. Why don't I quickly do some anti-social phone browsing for the scores across the matches? I believe a few games are ongoing. I saw a Sheffield update at halftime. Bournemouth are losing to Sheffield at home. I suppose at this point, since we're not really worried about Sheffield, that's not a huge result, but still a little bit surprising. But Sheffield play better away from home, which is maybe a Dyche tactic that they've taken on. The other result, or there's two other matches going on. Palace are up 1-0 against Luton, and it looks like Jean-Philippe Mateta scored there, and it's 0-0 at the Molineux between Wolves and Fulham.
I'm struggling to get in to actually sign into.
So I think, for me, I think I can just ping it here. Let's try this, see if that works.
It's the one that ends in KVN.
Yep. So that's going on now. So
have you got that?
Yeah, I just posted it on the chat there.
Right.
So if anyone wants to tag along, we can give them an opportunity to try and phone in. If you have a video, you're welcome to it. But I know with a lot of networks and mobile data, it might be easier if anyone did want to call in just to go on the audio for bandwidth and everything else.
Yeah.
Is this the first you've got on the 1080p there, Basil? Have you seen like the new resolution?
I've moved to 1080p.
No, the stream now. We're now on 1080p now, rather than the old, what was it, 8, whatever.
Oh, I didn't know
so I've got higher pixelation.
Ryan never told me that. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, Ryan told us. On my camera, it gives me different stream settings, so I tweaked it for this one.
It should be. Let's have a look. High def. Hang on, so I can change it. I've just changed it to high def. Is that any better?
Oh, look at that! Yeah, your
Clear it?
your pixelation is doubled in sharpness.
That's good. That's
But
good.
sometimes it's internet too, so it's always
yeah.
hard to
The
tell.
internet. I don't think it's that great here. As I saw about like 40 minutes ago, it was cutting out a couple of times.
So we do have Peter in the background, and you're welcome to stay along, Basil,
will,
or you need to cut out.
Well, listen, I'm going to dash off to this appointment, but it's been great to get on the stream with you finally. I'm sure we'll be on many more.
Yeah, right. We'll catch you later.
See you later. Bye.
See ya. All right. Out with Basil, and let's add in Peter. Hey, bud. How you doing?
How do you think I'm doing? I just had to watch it. I just had to watch that in a pub full of red shite, so you can imagine how I'm doing.
I mean, on a match like that, you probably have two sets of red shite with you. You've got the international fans visiting Liverpool. Not just the Scouser Reds, huh?
No, not in this city, mate. Not in this part of the city. You're not getting any Manx, let me tell you.
I wasn't saying they were true Manx because until recently, until the money came in, a lot of the Manchester United fans are international. So you'd get people wearing Man United shirts from anywhere around the world. You go to like rural Arizona where I'm living, and the only shirt you'll see is a Manchester United shirt. With it's about as common as any other brand. So that's what I was saying, that if you get tourists, but in your area, maybe it's not a tourist area of Liverpool.
Yeah, not particularly. No, I mean it's not a favourable area like where I grow up. So it is what it is. But honestly, mate, after watching that, everyone knows where I sit on Dyche, but the thing is, mate, as of this point, I'm now becoming really I'm starting to lose my patience, because at what point do we start to question Dyche's ability to get the best out of these players? Because let me just elaborate on something. I have never really liked Calvert-Lewin. I never rated him when we first got him into our team, because I looked and I thought, we're replacing Lukaku with this kid, but I never expected Calvert-Lewin to reach that level anyway. But I always thought there's always the off chance he might actually turn into a half-decent player. And I've watched him under Ancelotti scoring 20-plus goals in a season. He's gone from that to being injury-prone, but he's come back from injury under Lampard, and then he saved us from relegation, and he's gone from that to this. So I'm starting to question, is it really all Calvert-Lewin's fault, or is Dyche not getting the best out of him? And right now I'm actually looking and thinking that's the case.
Yeah. And it does tie in though. So yes, I will give this caveat that in the times under Ancelotti, I wasn't following, I still supported Everton, but I didn't have a TV. I lived in UK and I was always working throughout matches. So watching it as diligently as I have now, I wasn't able to do. But I know that he was, especially that, was it the first season that he really struck in was during COVID, right?
The season during COVID, when COVID first hit, Calvert-Lewin wasn't scoring any goals, mate. He was awful that season. But then again, so was Gylfi Sigurdsson. He wasn't creating enough chances, scoring enough goals. So it was kind of a up and down season. The following season, he brings in James Rodriguez, who provides a lot more creativity.
Right.
But the thing is, even with James Rodriguez was injured for more than 60% of that season. The majority of the creativity still came from Sigurdsson, but it also came from Richarlison. So that's what Calvert-Lewin had to work with. Right now, I'm looking at Calvert-Lewin with McNeil and Harrison, and I do agree the creativity is poor. But one of the things that makes me really angry about this is because this is what I feel has come from Dyche. Because the one thing that Dyche has done to create this situation is he sold Damari Gray. Now, I didn't back him on that situation with Damari Gray. When everyone was backing Sean Dyche on this situation with Damari Gray, I was one of the few who didn't, because I looked at Damari Gray and I thought the reason why he's probably upset, and I could understand it, was because Dyche is doing with him what he's been doing with a lot of these players. He's putting them out of position. He's doing it with Godfrey. Yeah. Well, he did it with, look at what he's doing with Godfrey. He's playing him at right back. He is not a right back. Look at that West Ham game. he took off Harrison. Understandably, Harrison wasn't doing well. I appreciate that he had to make that substitution,
And
but
then
he
moved
brought
right
on.
back for.
No, he brought on Gomez. He brought on Gomez and pushed Garner out wide.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
the start of the season, that wasn't working. And I don't like how he keeps shoehorning players into positions where they don't belong, because it keeps making this system, like whatever system he's trying to play, it just looks unbalanced to hell. And I feel like that contributes to a lot of the goals we concede.
Yeah. Now, Pep Guardiola expects that from his players. He gets to control the recruitment of the type of players that play in certain positions. So they do move around. They're all about the same size. They hold possession. Ake, Stones, Akanji, they all move around and are told, like, if you can't go to centre back, you're not in the squad because I adapt. Dyche doesn't adapt. He just puts players that aren't good enough into these positions and says, figure it out or you're out of the team. Now, it was a breath of fresh air for like 5 minutes for Godfrey. But now it's like, no, get out.
Yeah, that's the difference between Dyche and Guardiola. Guardiola plays total football. Dyche just plays like let's low block and just hope to hit the team on the counter attack and pray that we score, and it just doesn't work, mate. I mean, when I watch Guardiola, the thing about Guardiola that catches me attention, see, being a big football freak, I remember like learning about, because I've done football coaching, you get to look at a lot of coaches and a lot of managers. And one that I always particularly focus on was Pep Guardiola's manager, Johan Cruyff. And when I look at what Guardiola's doing today, Guardiola has built a team and he plays a similar style of play to what Cruyff did, but he's added his own spin to it, because the one thing that Cruyff would do is he'd always play 3 centre-backs. Guardiola doesn't do that. He plays wing-backs, but he has them sort of fill in as full-backs as well. And he seems to do a lot of different things. But with Dyche, like looking at what Dyche does, I'm always confused. I don't know what it really is that he wants to achieve, and if he's just shoehorning these players that he's clearly not training. I mean, one thing that is also catching me attention that I've been screaming for is Dobbin needs to play, in my opinion, because here's what I think one of the key issues is. I think when it comes to Everton relying on strikers, we rely too much on physique rather than technique, because Beto and Calvert-Lewin, they are both very physically big, strong players. But from a technical perspective, mate, they are not Premier League material.
Yeah.
But Dobbin, on the other hand, I think, doesn't have the physique of Beto or Calvert-Lewin. But I think from a technical perspective, he is much better than they are. And I think if you were to add him into that lineup, if you play long ball, that's fine with me, mate. But if you're going to play long ball and you need someone running in behind to get on the end of those flick-ons, McNeil and Harrison aren't doing it. Why not throw Dobbin in and see if he does it?
Dobbin's got the pace for a flick-on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to see a bit more of.
Yeah, I think I know we've got Carl in the wings as well to join us. So why don't we do this for the end here? You brought up. I haven't heard you bring up Chimiti yet, but I think that's another one as well, because I don't know, at least the way Dyche plays, and asking Dyche to change is kind of like asking the sun to not rise every day. So what do we do to get Dobbin in the pitch? Do you think he can play as a lone striker, or as a winger with flick-ons, and you have someone like Beto knocking it on, Calvert-Lewin winning that first header? What do you think?
One of those two things would be fine for me. It's either him and Decore, or it's him and Beto or Calvert-Lewin. I would prefer Beto, because I think Beto would achieve more on the flick-ons because he's more aggressive than Calvert-Lewin is. But one other thing I want to bring up, there's something about Beto that's really getting on my nerves, and it's the same with Calvert-Lewin. That one of the reasons why, obviously, you saw my ratings, I gave him a 0. Okay, it's probably harsh, but the thing that really got under my skin with him was right at the very beginning, before any of those penalties were given. The first penalty's a joke, by the way. That is not a penalty in a million years for me. It's a blatant dive by Garnacho. Second one is a penalty. I'll give him that. It's poor challenge from Godfrey. But getting on to what I'm talking about with Beto here, before those penalties were given, a through ball was played to Beto, a perfect through ball, and he's in on goal. And he gets caught offside.
By Branthwaite.
And the thing, and it's frustrating because him and Calvert-Lewin, this really gets on my nerves. Why can they not time their runs properly? Every single time they get a through ball played to them, they get caught offside, and it just gets on my nerves.
Yeah, Beto in particular. And I think it was a few weeks back, one of my first watch-alongs, or maybe it was against Man City, when like Onana and Beto came on at the same time, and they couldn't time a pass together, so it was quite frustrating. But I know we'll probably set up another phone in. But appreciate you coming in, and I'll add Carl to the chat as well. But yeah, especially when we've got other people in the wings, want to give them a chance. So for everyone else that wants to jump on after Peter here, the link is on the screen. And until next time, Peter, catch you later.
No worries, mate. Catch you next time.
All right, see ya. Hello, Carl.
Hello, lads. Hello, Carl.
Hello, Carl. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. I've been better. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to deal with Dyche. He's negative manager, and I just think he doesn't have a plan B.
Oh, I certainly feel that sentiment there, Carl. But I would say he did make some substitutions today, and when you watch him at like a few weeks ago at Goodison against Crystal Palace, man, I just feel I feel that he's trying something different, but maybe he needs a plan C. He did some substitutions; they didn't work. Maybe he needs a plan D. Do you think he's out of ideas, Carl?
He's a washed-up manager. He's completely washed up. He was up Burnley, got relegated, and now he brought him in. And we've picked him up as the saviour because he kept us up. But we only stayed up by the skin of our teeth. And now we just are struggling. We've not won a game in 10. And we've got strikers who can't hit a barn door with a banjo. And we're just hopeless. And we never look like scoring. I think he's out of ideas. And he's out of luck. And he's out of a job because, for me, I'd get rid of him. Hello?
And on that bombshell, Chris is gone, and I think that is the end.
My laptop
the
just
end
died.
of the stream. That's the end of it. With 230 watching.
The blue screen of death occurred for no reason. Said, "Oops, we have an epic problem on the laptop, so I've got to figure out that here in a minute." So
Carl just then left. I mean, if anyone else wants to come on, Chris, you'll just say your goodbyes and invite someone on. This is the link.
So yeah, I'm on my phone, so I can't do all the closeout stuff as usual for the live. So I can talk here. I'm on my phone right now. Hopefully, I might see if we can get someone else from the channel to help close out the show. Stu's point that was Carl's fault. Maybe it was. I'm gonna try and close out this the call, but I came in as a guest the way this is set up, so it may be the end here. And thank you for everyone that came along. We've got some laptop issues for me to figure out to close out the channel, but for everyone else, please like and subscribe, and appreciate all of your involvement today. And until next time, thank you, and keep an eye out for Follow Everton content. Bye.